Hi, I'm Eliza Doyle, and this is number 138 of the Sit Down Podcast.
The Sit Down Podcast is brought to you by Funky Moose Records. Funky Moose Records is an online record store. We sell new and used vinyl records, storage solutions like inner and outer sleeves, and cleaning supplies from, for example, Groove Washer. We also sell turntables from Audio Technica and speakers by Canto. And if you're in the market for a record, how about this one? The Northern Royals EP. It is on gold splatter vinyl, and it's available at funkymooserecords.ca.
Welcome, Eliza. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We saw you got our call out there for the invite, and we appreciate you joining us.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
We've heard so many things about you in the Saskatchewan music industry. We want to know everything.
Okay, well, I'll do my best to give you a synopsis of my life.
Definitely. Let's start. Actually, congratulations on Doylefest this year. I had a frickin' blast. I briefly got to see you. I didn't want to bug you because I know how busy putting something like that together can be. So I was just kind of like, gave you the hug, and I was like, okay, I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yeah, I was running around quite a bit. Yep.
No doubt.
So, okay, let's start there. How long has that been going, and where did the inspiration come from to start that?
Okay, so this was the 8th annual Doylefest this year, and it started, I was turning 32 on a Saturday, and I just love birthdays. I love any kind of reason to celebrate. And I looked ahead and I saw, oh my gosh, like I'm turning 32 on a Saturday, best day of my life. Like, this is awesome. What am I going to do? And I didn't really want to be in Saskatoon in the city or Regina. And I just bought some land outside of Saskatoon. I got 40 acres, and my friend Melissa was like, well, why don't you just have a party on your land? You just bought some land. I was like, okay, cool. And then it was like everybody I was inviting were musicians. And then they said, well, why don't you just, invite bands to come play? We could get a flat deck trailer. I was like, okay, that sounds like fun. And then she's like, you should name it a festival, like name it Doylefest. And I was like, Doylefest? That's a little egotistic. Like, that's my last name. That's a little egotistical. That's kind of not my scene. And she's like, well, our friend Ron has Ronapalooza, so why don't you just have Doylefest? It's fine. So I was like, okay. And it was awesome, and everybody had a great time. And she's like, you have to do this every year. I was like, oh, okay. So that's just how it started. And I missed 1 year. In 2015 was when I came down to Nashville. My car broke down, blah, 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 different story. But that's the only year I missed. So it's it's in its 8th year. So
right.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a hell of a good time. Like, Mark,
yeah.
you gotta make sure you come next year.
Is it on your birthday every year, or around
September
your birthday?
6th? Yeah, September 6th is my birthday. So the first year it was the where it lied, it was just kind of it was on the weekend after Labor Day, and then it just turned into that's the weekend that musicians are free, like we have the summer festivals, and basically Labor Day is kind of the last kick at the can. The campgrounds are closed, or kids go back to school. So it's like, yeah, it's when most people are available, and because all the musicians donate their time, and then it turned into a fundraiser. So it started by, people wanted to come, and more people wanted to come, and it kind of like the cost of I had to build more outhouses. I had to get one of those billy goat brush cutters so I could clear more land for tenting and for, people to park. And so, and then I'd have to haul water. So it would kind of started with just kind of compensating for, the cost of the generator. And Jamie Peaver's been doing sound since the beginning. And I, at the start didn't have any money to pay him. And then I was like, oh, well, I should pay the sound guy. And then it kind of we were able to make a little bit more. And then I just started putting it towards, before the nonprofit was incorporated, I was still doing programming and, working in communities. So I would just put that towards just something, to help out whoever I was, working with or that kind of thing. So then it just evolved as kind of the major fundraiser. So
hell yes.
And
yeah.
and when you do the fundraiser, is that for what's that for? And is that every year the same thing?
Yeah, so I started in 2020. I co-founded a nonprofit called C.A.M.P. If for the short term, it's called C.A.M.P Sask Arts, but it stands for Community Arts Mentorship Programming. So we work in remote and underserved communities, and we bring music programming to communities that would otherwise not have that option. And we collect musical instruments where we can bring out into the communities, and we write grants to train people how to work on reserves. So when it first started, I was up in Stanley Mission, and it was a 5 week in 2019. I did 5 weeks, and it was awesome. The community loved it, and they're like, "Oh, the kids were all excited, and everyone was all stoked." And I was like, "Okay, bye, see you later." And they're like, "Where are you going? Like, you can't leave. Don't do what everybody else does, which is come into a remote community, put on some wicked programming, and then leave, because nobody trusts you. Nobody trusts outsiders that they're going to actually stay, because nurses never stay, mental health workers don't stay, and you're not going to stay in a community unless you marry in. Like, it doesn't. I was like, I'm not going to stay in Stanley Mission forever. Like, I don't stay anywhere forever, let alone 5 hours north of Saskatoon, on a remote reserve. Yeah. Like, it's just not going to happen. And they're like, well, you've got all these kids excited, and you're going to just, it actually does, it can do more damage than good.
Yeah.
Because then they just get used to people leaving and not even getting excited, and so that's a challenge when I do go into communities, is that it takes a few weeks for people to like even want to open up and come and get excited. Because I say, like, I'm not going to go anywhere until we can build local capacity, or I'm never going to leave a community without programming, as long as so that's why we start slow, and when a community wants programming, it's a conversation. It's like, hey, well, we need to make sure we have ongoing support, because I'm not gonna do one-offs. One-offs are and it was an elder. He said, he came out, it was this quiet guy who's a musician, and he came up to me and he said, that girl who sang at the open stage last night? And I was like, yeah, she's awesome. She's got a great voice. And he said, last week she tried to kill herself, and now she's up there performing, and you bring light to,
Holy
this
shit.
community, and don't do what everybody else does. And then he walked away, and I was like, oh, mic drop, like, well, now what am I supposed to do? And that's when I really started thinking, like, well, I can't be up here all the time, but my friend Eric could come and teach, and Mitch could come and teach fiddle. And that's when I started thinking about, train other artists on how to do it. So Eric came up, and it was all good. And, I have these musicians up here teaching, and then they'd call me and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, so-and-so just told me they wanted to kill themselves, and how do I, and then so-and-so's dad just went to jail, so-and-so just passed away, and then, so I have these like sensitive musicians that are getting vicarious trauma, not trained, not knowing, and I was like, oh gosh. So that's where we started the TACT. It's called Trauma and Cultural Sensitivity Training. So we do a in-person training course where we, talk about treaties, we talk about trauma, intergenerational trauma, residential schools, all of these different things, colonialism, systemic racism, all this kind of stuff. And where it's an open forum where people can ask questions, and we have people from, all different communities, and First Nations and Métis people all together, just talking about, what's going on, and because it can be intimidating if you've never been on a reserve before. You don't know what, cultural appropriation, cultural protocol, all of these things that you're like, do we use the word Indian or not? Like these things. So, and I grew up in Loon Lake, outside of Loon Lake. My dad worked on the reserve, Makwasagagan. So I've been kind of like walking in two different worlds, for I'm quite comfortable, and I don't want to be like, I've been doing, reconciliation and bridging communities before that was a word, you know. So I feel really comfortable in what I'm doing, and I know that there's a lot of anxiety and like people don't know what to do. People don't know how to help or what to do. So I get a lot of people and friends contacting me like, you know, when the graves were discovered, it's heavy.
Yeah.
And people want to help, and but they don't know how to go about it and doing it. So that's where we started doing a lot of reconciliation workshops at music festivals. I didn't want to perform as my band because I have a new album coming out in the spring. And if you perform, you know, I wanted to wait to perform the summer that I have, you know, the new music out.
Right.
So when festivals contacted me and said, hey, do you want to play? I said, no, because I want to play next year. But do you have a workshop on reconciliation? What are you doing for reconciliation? And they're like, oh, we don't really. I'm like, hey, well, we're going to put on a workshop for reconciliation. And then I do children's performing. So that's how I can like still be at festivals without performing under my own name, but still kind of, because I love music festivals so much.
Holy shit. Know? Right out of the gate, I want to ask you if we can do something at next year's Moose Fest.
Yeah, we don't even have to discuss that, you and me.
Like we're both on the same page. I think that would be great. Yeah. Even if it's not to perform, but to come and like have some type of workshop or programming available. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, LJ and I have done quite a few. That we did most of the workshops together on reconciliation. I've done Tristan DeRocher because he works with that. Like he works with C.A.M.P as well, and,
right.
And so yeah, we do. It's a really powerful conversation, and it's just good to talk about it because it's awkward.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And actually, we knew that you were working with LJ as well, because we've had LJ on a couple times, and I think the last time, I don't remember if we left it in the episode, but the last time he was telling us that he was going up north to go work with you. It was in the episode?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's pretty dope. Shout out to LJ.
He's great.
Yeah, man, I freaking love that guy. Yeah, me too. Us too.
He recorded, so we did some youth camps this summer. One of the things I want to do is train more people to be able to put on youth camps in these communities because everybody wants, you know, a week-long intensive for youth. And what we do is we had an audio engineer, so Micah Ehrenberg, Casey Anderson, myself, LJ Tyson, and Mitch DeRoe, who plays fiddle. And he does a lot of work with the nonprofit as well. But we went in and wrote a song with the kids, and Micah recorded it. And LJ made this amazing video just using his iPhone. Like he's got an iPhone 13 and he's figured out.
Is that the one that Sask Music just featured today? Okay.
Yeah. Today?
Yeah, today it came out. Are Sask Music?
Town. It's just amazing. Like, so I think the nonprofit like C.A.M.P, we need to get a Spotify account so that people can. So these kids, and we need to sign them up for like, this is SoCan, and this is how you can get. You know, even if there's a little bit, they should get songwriting credits because they wrote the song. You know, with us we guided, but man, that singer, in Bovill, that music video turned out amazing. LJ made that video with his iPhone in 2 hours. Like he did all the shooting. We went out and did the stuff, and he edited it, and it was like.
Who would we have to ask for permission to drop that video in this episode right now? Would it be you?
Me? Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go.
I dare you.
Okay, yeah. Dare taken. For those of you listening or watching, we're going to drop that in here right now. Enjoy.
Pelican.
So that's Old Rusty Town, filmed in Bovill, Saskatchewan. Every time I see Bovill, I think of Bellevue. There's so many people out there, when I tell them we're from Bellevue, they think we're talking about Bovill.
Oh, yeah, Bovill. Yeah, Bovill is awesome. Yeah, it's great. And actually, Lancelot Knight, we just got another residency up there, a grant through the Sask Arts board. So Lancelot Knight is starting there. He's got 2 months up there. And then Zoe Slusser, who goes by Z the Free, she played at Doylefest. She's going up there in January. So
frickin' rights.
Oh, Z the Free. I heard about her.
She's amazing. She just joined the C.A.M.P board, and she would be a great person. She's like hip hop artist, and she'd be a great.
She's
great
tall,
person.
man. She's super tall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. I think anyway. Yeah. I'm not very tall, so everybody to me is super tall. So maybe she's probably about your height.
Your Bellevue height.
Let's go with that. So for those listening out there as well, why don't you tell us? You have some exciting news that you kind of like dropped a bomb on me the other day. You're currently residing in Nashville right now.
Right. I'm like, what's the exciting news he's talking about?
I think this is dope. Like I knew you were going to Nashville, right? Because we had talked about it, or I heard you saying it, but I didn't realize like that you were like moving there.
Yeah.
What the heck, man?
Well, so that year that I told you about, the only year that we missed Doylefest, in 2015, I was set for North Carolina or something. I was, wanted to learn more about the banjo, because I was like, oh, prairie gal with the banjo. We don't have a lot of, strong banjo traditions or, knowledge. And so I was like, I'm going to go learn more from, the hills of North Carolina, this and that. And it was during Americana Fest in Nashville. My car broke down. So I was with my friend Kira at the time. And so my cars always have, like, it's a hotel car. I take out the back seats and then I build a bed in the back. So kind of self-sufficient. So I was like, okay, well, so while I was waiting to go into the repair shop, slept in the back of the car at my friend's, this person I met. Like, I met all my new best friends in the course of that weekend. And we found a place to live. And it was like, okay, all signs are pointing to Nashville. I guess I'm going to move here. And so lived here for a couple months. Absolutely loved it. Just met so many great people. Was up on Broadway, jumping up, jamming. It turns out that, a lot of people like energetic banjo music. So I, fit in really easily. And I wasn't here to find or do anything. So many people in Nashville are like doing the grind, or they're trying to get the label and all this stuff. And I think it worked out for me being here, and I made so many great musical friends in the scene, because I didn't want anything from anybody. I wasn't trying to, and there were so many people I met who just graduated. There's all these schools. I think it's called Belmont. I'm just, figuring out all the names of the music schools. Like, people go to music school to make it as a musician, and there's a lot of competition here. So people come out fresh from these music schools. And then they come here and they're like, have their business card, and they're trying to get into band. And I just remember this one guy being like, how are you jumping up on Broadway with the Rishis? They're like, how did you get that gig over there at Layla's? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just whatever, I'm just doing whatever.
You're like, I'm just that good.
Yeah.
I'm that good.
They asked me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I've been coming here on and off for 7 years. And obviously with the pandemic, I didn't travel down here, and it was really good because I was able to focus on the nonprofit. The nonprofit was incorporated in 2020 in August. So really, if it wasn't for the pandemic and me not being able to perform or travel, the nonprofit wouldn't have taken, I wouldn't have had that much time to put into like grants, administration, accounting, learning all these things that you need to learn when you open up a business. But then obviously, borders are open, and I came down here in January again for the first time in like a year and a half. And I'm like, I love this place so much. And you can dance, and you can like co-write with people. Like, people are just so friendly. Why don't I just, because I'm already kind of doing music part-time, doing nonprofit teaching full-time, part-time as well. So why don't I just spend my off time instead of like in my cabin in, outside of Saskatoon, why don't I just spend it here with my friends? And there's just a bigger musical community here, and it's not Saskatchewan's fault. It's just a population thing and a Nashville thing. Like,
right.
So yeah, so I bought a little trailer. I found a little trailer. It's 28 feet. It's not that little, but I got it for $1,500 American. So it's like $1. But yeah, and I parked it out at my friend's land, and so now that's where I can hang out. So it's great.
Frick
Yeah.
and
Cool.
well, good on you,
Yeah.
Eliza. That's very inspiring. It truly is.
I have some more contacts in Nashville if you want. So whatever.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm always looking to meet. Well, and it's funny now because actually now, so I recorded an album live here in May. Wasn't planning on doing it in May, but it just kind of everything lined up and ended up doing it in a day. So we recorded 11 songs in 10 hours, and it's a really awesome album. Like I haven't recorded anything. I haven't, I was busy with the Dead South for a couple years. I released my first album under my own name. Like I've been recording and playing in bands since I was 19, but under my own name in 2016, I released that and then right away joined the Dead South. So I spent 2 years on the road, and then after that was, nonprofit stuff. So I haven't released anything under my own name in a long time. But I'm really excited about it. So now I'm here actually looking for, talking about labels and all this stuff. And it feels so weird because I'm like, I have my business card. Now I'm that person that I didn't want to be. And it's a weird world.
You're doing the things that the kids right out of school are doing right now. Just took you a little longer to get there.
I guess so. I don't like doing it, but it's just, you just have to remove yourself. Like, you need to remove yourself from it and just look at it like a business thing,
Yeah.
You can't get all like, I remember when I got my own, first website with my name on it, because I got so sick of bands breaking up. That's why I started going under my own name. Like, I love all the names of the bands I was with, like the Cracker Cats, the Heartstrings, the Hard Ramblers, the Midnight Roses, the Moonshine Misses, all these bands are so awesome, but then they all break up because of life. Like, people just get older, they get jobs, they move, people break up, whatever. And so I'm like, I'd have to restart, rebrand, I'm not in that band anymore. I'm in this one. I got all these old CDs and old t-shirts. So that's why I was like, hey, I'm just going to go under my own name because I'm never going to break up with myself. So I'll just, I guess. And I remember when I first got my, put my name on a website, I was just like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like, it's just going to have my face on, like just my face and my name. Like, that's a little much. But you just have to remove yourself from it and just look at it like a business. And
for sure.
You can get, but yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
This album that you recorded, may we ask, can you tell us about that? Like, so how was that for you?
It was amazing. So I've never recorded live. I've recorded like in different ways. I've done the thing a lot of people do, multi-track to a click track or whatever.
Right.
That's
where you piece in the different instruments, right? Record them separately and then kind of layer them, right?
Yeah. So I would record, I'd be like, okay, that's like 89 beats per minute. And I'd play scratch guitar and vocal to that. And then the bass player would go over top. And then the drum, or sometimes you do bass and drums first. And then you don't, overdub the banjo, put your vocals on, put your harmonies on, do all that stuff. I've also done it where, like with the Heartstrings, we did our albums, like one album where we recorded all the music live and then we overdubbed the vocals. So we'd be, just kind of like, you'd have to remember where you were in the song. I'd be like fake mouthing it. And be like, of course it's coming up, and so that still captured the energy, but the vocals weren't live. And I never thought, like, I don't think of myself as a strong vocalist, singer necessarily. Because when you're doing it live, your vocals have to be, there's no second chances of your stuff, because it's all bleeding through, everything's together. So when I came down here, I had a independent artist grant through the Sask Arts board that I actually got just before the pandemic hit. So I was supposed to come down to, go to New Brunswick with, meet Kira there, do some songwriting, then come down to Nashville with the new songs and workshop them on Broadway and see about making any changes. Well, that was obviously kibosh during the pandemic, but in January of this year is when I did it, actually. So I flew Kira here. We did 2 weeks of songwriting in this old farmhouse in outside of Leask, Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. And then in March, I drove down and did a month of work with, people that I, met, musicians and friends, and showed them the songs and kind of made a plan to do some demos. You know how musicians talk. Oh, we have to do pre-production and post-production, and everything takes like 12 million years. And so that's what I said to this guy. I ended up getting COVID, so I didn't, for the last week, so I didn't get to all the demos I wanted. And my friend Ian was like, okay, well, that's okay. You can just, I was like, hey, I actually have a week in May, like before I have to start teaching in Stanley Mission. Why don't I come down and we'll do the demo, finish the demos.
Right.
And he's like, why don't you just record the album? I'm like, well, it's not ready yet. He's like, I've listened to your songs. They're great. We'll get Charlie. He's a buddy of mine. I've known Charlie for a long time, and Scotty Murray, and we'll get, so-and-so to drum. I'll play bass. Let's just do it. And I was like, he's like, we'll do it live in my buddy Mark's studio. Mark Thornton, Sidekick Studios. He's awesome. And we'll just do it. I was like, you really think I'm like good enough to just do it live? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So that's what we did. I flew down. Yes. We had a couple days rehearsal with the band. Actually, the pedal steel player I had never played with. Well, I played with him at a, different honky tonks, but I've never like my songs. And the drummer we had never rehearsed with, but we sent them the tracks, and these guys are just like super awesome and really prepared and do their work. That's my thing, is like, I want people to show up rehearsed. When I show up to a gig, or if I'm doing some fill work with anybody, that's how serious I take it. And like, again, not that it's Saskatchewan's fault, but sometimes, musicians show up to my practices not rehearsed, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. We all can't be like Nashville musicians. But these guys just showed up, and we just did 11 songs in 10 hours, and I ordered pizza, and that was that. And right. So I've been working with Aspen. So they did a couple mixes. So I was like, okay, well, they're like, we're going to mix it. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. I've never been actively involved in the mixing process of bands or CDs I've been on. I don't know, someone else does it. It's kind of, I don't feel confident. And also a lot of times, a woman in the studio, dudes don't take you seriously. Like, it's a lot of dude engineers, and they don't really listen to what you say, because especially if there's another dude musician in the band who's talking, they just gravitate. And so that's been my experience. But anyways, working with Aspen is like one of the first times where I'm like, oh my God, he's like listening to what and he's like, I'm really sorry that, you've had all these experiences with people that don't listen to what you have to say or don't take you serious, because that's bullshit. And I'm yeah, it's just a woman in the music industry, and it's not it's just the way it is.
You're not the first you're not the first woman to tell me that neither. I've heard that from a few women in the industry that
shout out to Aspen at Skull Creek Studios.
Yeah. Yes, Aspen, you're great. So
we love you, buddy.
So these fellas sent me some mixes, and I was like, I think I want to add. So I did add banjo on some of the songs, because a lot of the songs I wrote on guitar. But I wanted banjo, on those songs on the album.
Right.
And so I was trying to figure out how I was going to like record banjo from Canada and send it there. And then I was just like, why don't I just work with Aspen so I can do it exactly how I want to do it? And I got Casey Anderson from Casey and Clayton. She's a good friend and amazing. She's had tons of studio experience. So I was so lucky she was able to come help me out. And she could say things like, she could hear things that I couldn't hear, or even if I heard something, I wouldn't know how to say, like, take down the brilliance of the blah, blah, blah with the something and add the something. Like, I don't know those.
Yeah.
But she does. So it was really awesome. So I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a really, really awesome album. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
So do you have an ETA? Like you said, next year that'll be released, correct?
Well, my plan was to release it in March. but I have to, I want it to be on a label so that they can do the publicity. And I want a booking agent, I want to actually do it. Like, who doesn't want a wicked booking agent and a label to support them, right? Like, everybody. So I've never done that before. Like, it's always been independent. All the bands have been independent.
Yeah.
I've never actually, and then with the Dead South, obviously they had had that kind of stuff already going. So now I'm kind of compiling the package, the mixes are almost done. My friend Kira, who sings on the album, and helped write some of the songs, she is an amazing graphic designer. So she's doing all this cool, like, album art ideas, and we have to, come up with the one sheet. So I can say to Rounder Records, or, it's kind of, I'm going to be approaching, record companies that probably have never heard of me, and be like, hi, can you listen to my album? So if a label picks up the album, they're going to have their own idea about when they, depending on who else is on their roster, they might have their own ideas about when they want to release it. So I'm not, if, maybe no one wants to pick it up, and I'll just do an independent and I'll be able to release it in March like I wanted. Because the idea is, if I release it in March, then it's kind of like hot on the heels for the, summer festival circuit.
Right.
In Western Canada, which is what I'd like to do, all the festivals around, but also I'm also very chill with, I know what the music industry is like. I know it's difficult. I know everybody wants the same thing. And I'm cool if it doesn't happen too.
Right.
Like I've toured the world. I've been on stages that I would have never thought I would have been on. And so I'm not driven by, I don't want to be on the road full time. It's not that fulfilling of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, it can, if you have all the stuff, but it's still, you're away from home. You're away from communities. When I was with the Dead South, I was so like, I was craving, because I'm a school teacher. I have a Bachelor of Education degree. And so I love working with kids and teaching songwriting and creating meaningful, opportunities and experiences for people. And you can't really get that when you're in a different place every night. Or when you're playing in bars, you kind of get like, oh, great, like, cheers, like, what's the meaning? I'm playing to drunk people. Like, this isn't really that fulfilling to me, to just sing a song. I want to work with kids and, like, create change in the world. And I mean, you can do that through music, but just playing it, anyways.
So when it comes to record labels, are you actively looking in Nashville, or is it basically just any label? Well, maybe not any label.
Just any. Yeah, it doesn't have to. I mean, because everything's over. You email.
Yeah.
People, and I mean, it does help to, that you can, oh, hey, like, there's just so many people that are here that are in the industry that you can run into, that so and so knows so and so, and but really, like, me moving down to Nashville part-time it's just to live my life normally, like I'd be living in Saskatchewan, but just live it here, I want to go to the swimming pool, or I want to go for a walk in the park, or have a routine. I actually, like, all summer didn't have, obviously, any type of routine. I'll get it. Whenever I go up to teach in Stanley Mission, that's all the routine you need. Like, I'm a school teacher. I got to wake up at I got to wake up in the morning and work 9 to 5. Like, I like it because obviously I need some kind of income, and it's the position that I created. So I teach musicians how to be music teachers, and we can employ them in remote and underserved communities for like 2 months at a time, or 3 months, or 8 weeks. Like, it's amazing to be able to go and have your income and your employment be that, so I crave that. By the end of it, I'm like, I'm not a 9 to 5 person at all. Like, I like 11 to 7. Those are good. 12 to 8. That's what I'll take. But I mean, it's just hard to go to bed early enough to want to wake up at 7 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, you have to be there at 7. So you got to wake up at like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So it's even worse. I get it. I get that.
That's why we do what we do.
Yeah,
so we don't have to be there.
We do what we want when we want.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
it. I love it. That's how you got to do it, Eliza. Just do what you want to do when you want to.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but to do what I want to do, I do have to. I do like teaching in the schools.
Freaking rights. I have a question about that. So, hypothetically speaking, if let's say we wanted to incorporate like a music program in like Bellevue School, for example, could that be something that's possible, or no, because it's just like in Bellevue?
Well, tell me about Bellevue. I don't know much about it. What's going on in Bellevue?
There's nothing going on in Bellevue, which is why I'm interested in bringing in a little music program at this. No,
where is it?
Funky Moose Records is happening.
It's actually really close to Batoche. So where like the Métis rebellion happened there, the Louis Riel War back in the day, that's like 10, 15 minutes away from here.
Okay.
So we're kind of in that area. We're about 15 minutes from Batoche.
Yeah, and it's a French community, mostly farming.
Yeah, it's a little farming community.
There's a French...
How big is the school?
How many kids would you say are there? Is there 200 kids there?
No.
K to 12. It's K to 12. But there's also a daycare that's like attached to it. It's separate, but it's all in the same building. So the kids here...
I think Jennifer was saying something like 130, 140 kids.
And that's like from K to 12.
Yeah.
I consult with people all the time, schools, directors of education, superintendents. I consult with them all the time about setting up music programs, and I help them I'll write up a proposal. I'll show them where to find funding. Like I said, we don't leave a community until it's. We'll never leave a community, but if they have, like, you go in with a grant from Sask Arts Board or Canada Council or something, then of course the community's hooked. They're like, oh my gosh, all the students love ukulele, and you bring so much light. I'm like, okay, so I can't keep writing and doing all the work, but if you want this program to stay, here's the different granting options you can do.
Right.
Or I was lucky enough in Stanley Mission, that's the first community we started in, and they went for contracting a contracting position for their teachers. So you don't need a teaching degree to teach in school. And unfortunately, because a lot of the northern communities or remote communities, they can't get enough teachers. Like Daryl, the director of education, and he always jokes around because he knows I'm not going to be a regular teacher, but he's like, we need a grade 9 teacher. I'm like, no, grade 9 boys, like hormones, like I'm not interested in being a middle years teacher at all, ever. I mean, I could if I had to. If there was some reason I had to be, I would rock it, but by choice, I don't really, am not interested.
That's hilarious.
But they'll get somebody who, from the community maybe, or from somewhere else that isn't a certified teacher, because they need somebody literally to teach these kids. And so anyway, so we started working with that, where you can be a professional in your field, but not have certification and still go into the schools and teach. So that's where Stanley Mission created one full-time job for a musician. And so we use that as a template, so when I'm working with L'Orange, then we spread to L'Orange, Hall Lake and Sucker River. So we have teachers there. And then, One Arrow, I just started consulting with them. So they're looking at the same funding
That's
model.
Actually like 5 minutes away
from
5
minutes from here.
Oh, yeah. Melanie, she was the principal up in Stanley Mission at the high school, and she went to One Arrow last year, and so I'm working with her to get musicians in the community there.
So look at that. If you got Bellevue in there, it's like 5 minutes away. You could double dip.
Yeah,
because it's right there. You could do the two in one crack.
Yeah, anybody who wants, any school, any community that wants a music program, they're totally welcome to contact me, and I'll consult with them and help them out as much as I can. Yeah.
I write a lot of songs about running away, but I always circle back. Around. This one's called Nothing to Lose. Going on a trip you don't know where.
that was a clip from Eliza performing at Dog Patch this summer.
Oh, do you have that?
I sure do.
Because it just played.
Yeah, because it just played. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's where you and I first got to meet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yep.
I was that guy who was like all by himself, sprawled out on the grass,
Yep.
like 20 feet in front of the stage with the camera rolling. That was totally me.
Yep. Yep. I was like, wow, that guy looks like he's getting some footage.
Yeah.
Right on.
That was my first time at Dog Patch this year. I freaking I'll be
cool.
honest, I never really hit up festivals until this year. And
wow, welcome to the club.
No doubt. I got to get Mark out and about to more of them, and Janelle for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're fun. I grew up at festivals. Like my parents are, both teachers but tree planters and musicians, and so I kind of grew up going to Ness Creek, and they would have, there's a little festival in Livelong, Saskatchewan, and just kind of grew up in that community. So I love music festivals. I feel really comfortable at them.
Question. You may have touched on this before. So your banjo playing, is that's your instrument of choice, right? Like, how long have you been playing banjo for?
So when I moved to Saskatoon to go to university in 2000, I ran into all these people. My new friends were all musicians, and I was like, dang, why didn't I ever learn how to play an instrument? Oh, that's okay. I'll just clap or tap or hum and then my dad called me up. He was cleaning out a shop, like his buddy and him up at, just Makwa by Loon Lake. And they were cleaning it out and they found this old banjo and they took it off the shelf and they put new tuning pegs and cleaned it all up. And they were sitting around trying to figure out who to give this banjo to. And someone's like, Ed, what about your daughter? She just started going to university. Maybe she wants a banjo. So he called me up. He's like, hey, want a banjo? I'm like, sure. I guess so. Why not? And my buddy Harry at the time, he was a busker. So he spent a lot of time on the streets playing. And so he taught me, a couple chords. And Bonnie Logan, she's since passed, but she's a banjo player, storyteller, one of my parents' old friends, one of my dear friends. And she taught me the claw hammer. So that's the kind of style that I play. And off I went, and Harry would make so much more money when I was playing with him because I wasn't a dude with a guitar. There's so many dudes with guitars on the street. And so, I started, working with him, and then I started just doing it on my own. And so I would just play on the streets and practice. And that's how I kind of, got my,
right.
That's how I started. And I busked across Canada with my friend Mary and taught her how to play mandolin. And I didn't know. Okay, well, I knew that there's two different types of banjos. There's tons of different types, but 5-string, you'll have an open back or you'll have a resonator, and that's the one with the, the thing on the back of it. Makes it louder. The one with the open back is, just kind of quieter. It has a different tone. But apparently, claw hammer is traditionally played on an open back. And what I have is a resonator banjo. It's just really loud, which normally you play with finger picks. So when I first came down here in 2015, playing claw hammer on a resonator banjo, people are like, you're not from around here, are you? I'm like, why? What's going on? What's up? And they're like, what are you doing? Where did you learn that weird thing you're doing? I'm like, what are you talking about? This? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is that I love about Saskatchewan. There's so many songwriters, and I think that's why we have so many great musicians and great songwriters coming out of Saskatchewan, because we are not down here. It would have been you're going to be learning banjo from Earl Scruggs' grandson. He teaches the Scruggs style because literally that's his grandpa. Mm-hmm. And so there's all these rules that I didn't know about, and all these things that there's a lot of old time jams. There's bluegrass jams where people do the same thing the same way. And so when I come down here and I'm doing these things, people are like, what's that?
Oh, you're such a rebel.
I'm a rebel.
You're an outlaw.
Yeah, so I really like that. So I started playing banjo, in 2001. And then I joined the Cracker Cats pretty quick after that. And then, guitar, you kind of got to learn guitar so that you can see what how to read the chords. And guitars, I love guitar. It's a nice mellow kind of change from the banjo. And then I started playing dobro, and dobro is really, really awesome. And it's similar to banjo in that it's open G tuning. So it has this kind of some similarities, but I love the dobro. And then mandolin. Once you can play one stringed instrument, it's fairly simple to jump around. I don't play fiddle. That's the only thing I don't play. And I feel like, because a lot of the programming, like the elders and a lot of these communities and these Métis communities, fiddle. Mm-hmm. They're like, bring back the fiddle. We want, and we got a huge fiddle donation. And so we have a whole bunch of fiddles, and I'm starting fiddle programs, but I don't play. I can squeak out Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but it doesn't sound that great. And the thing about the fiddle is that it's hard, but it's also right next to your ear, and my arm gets sore. I shouldn't complain, but I should learn it. That's what I should do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's we actually know a few fiddle players that we could maybe refer to you.
A few?
A couple.
Sure, I need
fiddle
teachers.
Sure. I might know a few. We'll talk after for sure. But
I need fiddle teachers for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Sorry for the interruption, you guys. I just wanted to tell you guys about Muse Canada. They're a new arts and entertainment media connection and support network. Skip the algorithms of social media and connect with other entertainment professionals across Canada. Sign up today for $5 a month, or use the promo code FunkyMoose2021 for 10% off. That is FUNKYMOOSE2021 for 10% off. Back to the show.
So you played in the Dead South for how long?
I played for 2 years. So I played from 2016 to 2018.
How did that come about?
Well, I released my album in September, so I decided to quit my teaching job. So I was teaching in Swift Current full time, and at the best job ever. I worked at an alternative high school working with at-risk youth, and my job was to run the outdoor ed program and the music program, and basically inspire kids to, be interested in the arts and the outdoors. So it was a great, great job, but it was my first teaching job. I'd been there for 7 years, and I was like, so what? This is it? I'm just do another 20 or something, and this is my life now? Swift Current is great, but it's, not a lot of people, not a lot of diversity, not a lot of music festivals,
Right.
So I took a leave of absence to figure out what I was going to do, and that's in 2015 when I went down south. And then I decided, no, I can't keep doing this 9 to 5, even though it's the best job in the world. So many teachers want to find that best job in the world and just work there for 20 years and retire. So I made the decision to quit and just kind of tour, do music full time. And that's when, I released my album in 2016. But that's when the Dead South, Colton, had a mental breakdown and, couldn't tour anymore with them, and they were in a bind. And I knew the guys, I knew the fellas from, when they first started. And actually, I remember seeing the Dead South at the Broadway Theater back in the day. This would have been, maybe 2015 or something. And first time I kind of saw them play, and I went up to Colton after. I was like, great banjo playing. That's awesome style. You're great. And he's like, I'm like, my name's Eliza. And he's like, I know who you are. You're the one who inspired me to pick up a banjo in the first place.
Holy crap.
I was like,
oh,
what? What are you talking about? He's like, I saw the Hard Ramblers play at the Regina Folk Festival. I heard you, from a distance, and I was like, whoa, what's that sound? Clawhammer banjo. I'd never, really heard it. So he came over to watch and was just mesmerized. And he's like, yeah. And then I picked up a banjo because of you. I was like, oh, cool. So yeah, him and Nate started the band, and then Danny and Scotty came along, and anyways, when Colton was out and they needed a banjo player, I was like, this is perfect. I just quit my job. I just released my album. I'm like free. I could, So I was hired to do the Western Canadian tour with them. So we did that. It went really well. And then they were like, do you want to stay on full time? I was like, heck yeah, let's rock this scene. So it was really fun. But like after a while, because I am a school teacher, I'm a community worker. I love working and inspiring people, to live just, be joyful and live life to the fullest. And you can't really impact people as much when you're on the road every day. You don't see the same person twice, and I just remember, like, I met these really cool gals after a show and I was like, I just want to go for coffee with you tomorrow. Like, I haven't seen the same person, day after day. Well, except obviously the band and the crew, but right. I missed connecting with people. And so when Colton was healthy enough to like rejoin the band and he came back, that's when I did that residency in Stanley Mission in January of 2019. And it was just such a great feeling. I was like, oh, meaning. And nobody cares. Like it gets really tiring in the music scene where people are like, oh, what are you doing next? Or what's your award? Or where's your next tour? And it's just so bougie and like kind of fake. And people, like I got so sick of being looked at. All you were was this thing, I represented an idea to somebody in somebody's mind. So people wanted my autograph. They wanted all these things and they thought I was cool. Luckily I am a good person, but they wouldn't know that. They just know me from an image, from a thing, and then idolize me for it's fake. It's fickle. It has no substance,
right.
So I really was craving meaning and I kind of got sick of kind of playing to drunk people, it's not really that, meaningful, but it was a great experience and, super awesome, but I was craving something deeper. And so this community work is just really awesome. But I do crave, playing good music and writing music. That's what I love to do. So that's why I'm excited about the album and excited about being down here. So life is great. And I just turned 40. I just love it. I mean, I know it's just a number, but like I love round numbers, even numbers,
even round numbers. Well, happy belated birthday. I don't remember if I ever did say happy birthday when I saw you.
Probably.
I must have. I wanted to ask you too, like, when I saw you play live, I seen you play live, Eliza, the banjo. Like, every time I'm there with some people, I'm always telling them, you got to see Eliza's hand. Like, watch her hand. Because you're like, you're playing so quickly. Like, you can't even see her fingers moving. But you hear all the notes that she's hitting. It's just like, holy shit. Like, it's just a complete mind fuck.
That's kind of what Byron does. Have you...
with the guitar,
If you watch him play guitar, it's like, he's making all that sound and his hand is just...
It's like not even moving. Yeah. It's like, what the hell? And I did notice your fingernails are a little, like, your nails are, like, pointy. And that's for playing the banjo, right?
I have 2 fake nails. Don't tell anybody. No, just kidding. I have 3 gel nails that I put on because otherwise my fingernails, I play so much, they just get worn off.
Right.
So I get, like, and you can't even tell. They just kind of look like real, fingernails. But yeah, I do keep these 3. I have to go into the nail store. Or the nail store, the salon or whatever, and be like, I just need like 3 nails. They're like, you just want 3 nails? I'm like, I'm a musician and this is blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, it's that technique. It's called claw hammer.
Right.
It was brought over, like the banjo came over with the slave trade. So when I tell people about the banjo or any of the instruments in Canada, like, unless it's a drum or a flute, it's brought here from another country. It wasn't a guitar. It wasn't just like First Nations communities were just like hanging around playing a guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the banjo first came over to North America from West Africa. And it was forbidden, obviously, for them to play music or to, even bring anything over. They weren't able to bring anything over. So when they were here to obviously comfort themselves and try to, have some kind of semblance of their own culture, they would make banjos it was called a banjar. And the first banjos were like, they're made with a gourd or a pumpkin, so they'd cut, they'd hollow out the gourd, cut it in half, and it would kind of bake in the sun and harden. And when it hardens and dries, it's hard like wood. And then they would take an animal skin and stretch it over, and then just grab a stick, for the neck. And then the strings were made from guts, the guts of animals, like gut strings. Like Paula in my band, she has gut strings on her bass. So we still use gut strings today. But yeah, wow. I see the banjo is just three things: a drum, a stick, and some strings. And so, the first ones would have, maybe three strings, and, they would play it. And then it evolved, right? But the African Americans were the first people to play banjos, make banjos. And it's from their culture. And of course, like we do, white people steal it and call it their own. So when they started playing banjos, what they wanted to do is make the African people feel like dumb about playing banjo, so they wouldn't play it. So they would stop, so they could keep the oppression going, but like, so it could become a white person thing. Right. So they did blackface, right? So that's when they started blackface, and they start making fun of, it's a stupid instrument. It's dumb. So, the African Americans started, needing to distance themselves from that stereotype. And then we would steal songs, all of these old songs that, so-and-so wrote. Well, no, they didn't. And that style is coming from, but Earl Scruggs did, make up that three-finger picking style. But the claw hammer, that old time, that's really, that's the technique from the slave trade.
Do you have a banjo, like, nearby? Or is it at the trailer?
Yeah, it's downstairs. Yeah, I could grab it. All right, we got Rowdy Ralph here coming in hot.
That's the banjo's name?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question already. That thing's that's beautiful. It truly is. The black marks on the, I don't even know what it's called. Like the black marks. Head. Yeah. So is that just like wear and tear on
That's
it?
From her, that's from her two fingers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's from doing this. So the style I do is claw hammer. So you make your hand into a claw. You go down on the strings.
And then pluck with the thumb. So down with the four.
It's not a pluck.
Okay.
Not a pluck. This is where it's kind of difficult to teach. And it's difficult to teach to guitar players because they already have their own idea or how to move their hands. Your thumb doesn't move externally from this thing. What you do is and it sets on here, so you can see this all worn out here. That's from doing that. So if you see my thumb, I'm not being like, oh, pluck, pluck, pluck. Yeah. It's like, so that's the basic strum. And if you don't isolate the strings, it's called a frail. So this would be called frailing banjo. You just do this. And then when you start isolating the strings, so you can go. And I'm just.
Yeah.
My index finger is just kind of like hitting. What you do is you start doing a double thumb. That's when you start moving your thumb
to the different chord. You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
And because it's open tuning, you don't even have to. I'm not even using my left hand.
Yeah.
And then you can just do a little thing and it sounds so impressive, It's like, woo. You do one slide and it's like, wow. It's just a series of hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides. It's like the guitar, you have to bar chord and you're like,
yeah.
Oh, dude.
I like how you're minimizing how awesome that is.
I know, right?
It's like, oh yeah, I just do this and this and this, and yeah, and then you do this a little bit,
and then you just
whatever.
shred it. Nice.
Just a little bit of it's just a hammer on. It's really not that. Yeah. Anyways, it's fun.
That's freaking amazing. What's the name of the banjo again?
Rowdy Ralph.
What I want to do is ask you, can you just play us like a 30, 45 second something to play us out?
Sure.
All right.
Do you want like some good old fashioned banjo?
Yeah.
Sounds, or...
Yeah. Something fun for you, and
show off what you got.
Yeah, let's check it out.
It's just a little doodeladoo here and there. So.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the name of the episode. Doodeladoo.
Doodeladoo.
All right, here we go.
Yes. Thank you, Eliza.
Have you heard about our new radio station? It's called Funky Moose Radio, where we play alternative and indie rock, sprinkle in some blues and Americana. We feature the music from our guests on this podcast at least once per hour. These songs can be in any genre. We're working on getting the station on every mobile app available, but the easiest way to listen is at funkymooseradio.ca. You should also become a VIP because we'll be giving away some prizes. Again, check it out at funkymooseradio.ca.